Just as predicted, the final RFAs sign right ahead of Calgary Flames training camp.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. We are here. It is training camp eve. The Flames will hit the ice tomorrow, and what a time. We made it through the off season. At some points it didn't feel like it was ever going to end and if deals were going to get done, but they did. And another point of contention this off season, Mackenzie Weegar was his name was constantly thrown around, and we're going to talk about what he has to say about that, as well as realistic expectations for the Flames, because this is a very different year than even last year. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. I think we all know, right? Like, it's not a secret that the Flames are not the competitive team that we saw 3 seasons ago anymore. They are in a different chapter of franchise history now, and things have changed a bit. I think really the biggest giveaway is the movement from this summer. Obviously trading away your starting goaltender is huge, and we know why they did that. Trading an expiring contract, even if it is, fan favorite Andrew Mangiapane, you have to make these necessary moves in order to get to a point where you're competitive again. Like, we're going to look back on these trades in a few years and say, this makes so much sense. I don't think any of the trades that Conroy has made have made me really scratch my head. And that's just where we're at. This is this is going to be a very different team than the deadline, like the post-trade deadline team. We know that the defense has kind of taken a little bit of a hit. You don't have that really strong 1 through 4 with Weegar and Anderson and Hanifin and Tanev, and even Zadorov on the third pairing. Like, still we're pretty good. I think it's fine to have high hopes and to go into this all hunky dory, thinking this team is going to be the underdog, they're going to make the playoffs. Like, if that's what's going to get you through the season and it makes you feel good, go for it. I'm not here to gatekeep how you are a fan. I don't care if you are team tank or this team is going to the playoffs. As long as you are enjoying yourself and the support is enjoyable to you, go for it. At the end of the day, this is just hockey, right? Like, it's a form of entertainment, and that's that. But if you are looking at this from okay, like, what should my expectations be? You have to level them. This is not a team that I think is necessarily even going to be fringe playoff team like in years past. I think that this it's going to be a tough season for them. But ultimately, the goal isn't to make the playoffs this year. The goal is to finish the season and have another great draft. And that feels like it's going to be the goal for the next few years. And rebuilding is tough. This transition period, I talked about it with JD Young from Locked On Sharks, probably about a month ago now. Things change, and the Sharks were in a similar situation where they had older players, they had tough contracts, and they had a first-time general manager come in mid-rebuild and kind of take the take the reins, and they're starting to look like a real team now. But that takes time, and I think the Flames are in a slightly better place because they do have a decent amount of talent that is, while it's expensive, it's still enough to kind of keep those pillars there to where you're not bottoming out like the Sharks or Chicago. And I think a big part of, like, where I know I'm going to find excitement this season is the young kids. There is something so exciting about watching these young players come in and really find themselves, find their game. And like last season, how fun was it watching Connor Zary and Martin Pospisil night after night after night? They were a force to be reckoned with, and I cannot wait to see what happens for them this year. I think there's going to be a variation of line combinations, and we might not see them on the same line together um, to start. But I think that's going to be something that they do fall back on a lot because there's known success there. And Dustin Wolf, like, we have been waiting for this. We thought that this might happen last year where they would potentially trade Vladar because, like, there were teams like Colorado that needed a goaltender. No, didn't happen quite like that, but, we did get to see Dustin Wolf a handful of times, and now we're gonna see him in what I would assume to be a 1A and 1B situation with Dan Vladar. I would love to sit down and pick Ryan Huska's brain, but I feel like we're gonna hear more about that as camp starts and as it progresses, and I'm absolutely fascinated to see what the defensive grouping is gonna look like because it's just, yeah. We know that there's gonna be a very big difference, and I I think you should have some excitement going into this season because this is, again, a continuation of a new era for the Flames. Um, you can look at this like it's 1 year less on the Huberdeau contract, or you can say it's 1 year closer to the new arena. It's 1 year closer to being more competitive. Like, however you want to view this season is great. Or if you just want to sit back and like watch hockey, that's also great. You don't need to be like me and in your head about it. But coming up next, we are going to talk about Mackenzie Weegar and his comments about his plans for the future, and is Calgary part of that? But before we do that, we are going to take a quick break here, and I want to talk to you about game time. I am someone that loves going to events. I grew up going to theater, grew up going to concerts, grew up going to hockey and sporting events, and that's something that has brought me a lot of joy and that I have carried into adulthood. And game time makes it possible and so easy for me to continue and bring joy into my life with these live events. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that it makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters through the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I think that that's fantastic. It is super easy to just already use Game Time, but when you can have someone, cut off that extra fat and get you what you need even quicker, fantastic. I am very much looking forward to going to several hockey games this fall and winter and check out some local concerts and maybe even, go check out a comedy show. Um, Game Time Picks is a curation that makes it easier to save money on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. With all-in pricing, you can toggle this feature that shows the upfront total with no surprise fees at checkout. I love that. It's fantastic and very convenient. And with Game Time's ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Thanks everyone for making Locked On Flames part of your day. I greatly appreciate it. And you can follow along the show wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. I think one of the more infuriating parts of the summer is the rumors, right? Especially when it's people saying, like, this player doesn't want to be here, or, kind of insinuating that your team, like, isn't worthy of a player like Mackenzie Weegar. And that's tough. That is so tough because it's like you don't understand. Now, I've never been to Calgary. That is changing in less than a month, but I've never been to Calgary. I can only assume it's a great city because of the way these players talk about it and how like special and important the city is to these guys. And that also comes along with like the culture of the team. And Mackenzie Weegar really made it clear from like the jump, even before he signed his extension, that he wanted to be in Calgary. He wants to be here. He wants to be part of this and build a like play with good guys and have an awesome team. And today, Salam Valji caught up with him at captain's practice, and I think that this kind of just shuts it all down. He made it pretty clear that he wants to stick out the process, whatever we're calling this process, in Calgary. Quote, I don't want to go anywhere. I know a lot of people talk about, leaving or whatnot, but I want to build the reputation back in this city and, make it a championship city again. And, they've really taken me in here. So I just want to give them back what they've given me, unquote. Before we go any further, this man is the next captain of the Calgary Flames. That is very obvious. He is fantastic on the ice, but he is someone that just exudes leadership, accountability, everything you look for in a captain. And I think that's great. I also I know that people are like, well, he doesn't have to. Like, if there's no, uh, you know, a clause or whatever keeping him in Calgary, they can do whatever they want. Yes, they can, but that's not that's not the point here. Uyghur. eh, I think you can credit him. Uh, to getting the Flames a new arena, or really pushing that proposal forward a little bit faster, because when he came and signed, it was like, oh, this is the home team's locker room. It looks like the away team in most other cities. And we know that the Flames have needed updated facilities. So thank you, Mackenzie Weegar. I hope that you get a plaque somewhere in this new arena. But I think it's important, right? Because you look back to the summer of 2022 when players left, like your two key players, your franchise players with Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk. They left, went to other teams, and everything changed. Suddenly, Calgary as a team is looking a little less attractive, right? Because you're not playing with superstars. Okay, great. Jonathan Huberdeau comes in. Fantastic. Fun. Oh, he didn't play well. Oh, look, they're trading Noah Hannafin. Oh, look, they're trading Elias Lindholm. Zadorov leaves. He makes it clear that he's requested a trade. There are some other things that happened. Oh, well, they did take really good care of Oliver Shillington when he was going through things. So, like, if that ever happens to me, like, it looks like from the outside, like, my God, why does everyone want to leave? Chris Tanev supposedly wanted to stay, but Greg Conroy shut the door on that one. All right. I do think, this is part of sports, regardless of what team it is. It happens. And, I think about, like, the Red Sox a few years ago, Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, two very important players in a franchise gone. It happens with every sport, and the Flames did experience that with Iginla as well. And for a player to who is a very good player and could very well be a needle mover on any Stanley Cup contending team, wanting to stick this out and take the lumps, I guess you could say. That speaks to his character, because we know how important it is and how ingrained it is in these players to win, 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 win. This is all about competition. I'm not saying that, he's not a competitive player, but I think that there is more of a loyalty situation here. And especially when he was playing, he played with the Panthers when the Panthers weren't good. So that is that. But I do think that Weegar is someone that everyone can look up to in this locker room. I still remember Noel Achari beating the lights out of Mackenzie Weegar, and that's how I learned who Mackenzie Weegar was. So when he was traded to the Flames, I was like, oh, the guy that Noel Achari beat the daylights out of. Oh, he's actually he's grown as a player. He's matured. He looks like an NHL defenseman. He can stand on his own 2 feet, sort of deal. Um, you know, it's great to see someone as talented and you know, just someone as talented as him be so vocal about wanting to be in Calgary. I think you don't really see a lot of that. I think it's and not that there's anything wrong with wanting to win. I mean, ultimately, that's really what everyone wants to do. But Uyghur has just been an absolute delight to watch, to cover, and to know how hard he rides or dies for the city of Calgary and the fans, and it's just nice to see. So thank you, Mackenzie Weegar, for wanting to be part of this transitional period where the Flames are getting back on their feet after some tough losses and at least, hey, one stellar draft year. But coming up next, we are going to wrap up the show with some conversations about 2 recent signings, as well as a preview for what's that called? Training camp. Training camp. Yes. But before we do that, we are going to take a quick break here, and I want to talk to you some more about FanDuel. You have heard us talk all about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little bit different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. With a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Just visit fanduel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you are subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, and you can follow me on Twitter at JustBelMosto. So when I recorded yesterday, the Flames had not put out their training camp rosters, and they finally did this afternoon. So training camp opens tomorrow, Thursday, which is very exciting, and they play some preseason hockey this weekend. And I can't believe that training camp is actually here. This off season felt like an eternity. And I guess like other than Dustin Wolf, like the biggest things people were worried about was, of course, the restricted free agents. What were they going to do with them? Because you can trade them, you can get some assets for that too. And especially with a guy like Cole Schwindt. Jacob Pelletier eventually resigned, but Cole Schwindt's contract extension was announced today, along with Solo's. But I'll read the press release for you for both of them. The Calgary Flames announced today that they have re-signed center Cole Schwindt to a 1-year, 2-way deal. Schwindt, a Kitchener, Ontario native, made his Calgary debut last season, skating in 4 games with the club. The 23-year-old skated in 66 games with the Calgary Wranglers of the AHL in 2023-2024, netting 14 goals and 22 assists for 36 points during the regular season. In the playoffs, Schwindt scored a team leading 4 goals in 6 contests, including 1 game-winning goal. This is a breakdown of the deal. It's a 1-year, 2-way, $800,000 NHL cap hit. Yeah, so that's cool. The 2-way deal is good. I mean, like, that's what it needs to be, and that also just means like there's a difference in pay as well. The second contract announced today was Ilya Solovyov. This is a 2-year contract extension, which is huge. That's pretty great for him, considering he's just out of his entry-level contract. He was playing overseas. Like, this is a pretty big deal. Solovyov, a native of Mogilev, Belarus, made his NHL debut during the 2023-2024 season on October 26th and would go on to skate in 10 games for the Flames throughout the campaign. The 24-year-old would record his first NHL point on December 5th with an assist against the Minnesota Wild, and was one of just three 2020 7th-round draft picks to skate in an NHL contest during the 2023-2024 season. In the AHL, Solovyov posted 15 points from 5 goals in 51 outings with the Wranglers and would add 1 goal in 6 playoff games. This is a 2-year, 2-way deal. The first year is a 2-way. The second year is a 1-way, with a cap hit of $775,000. He's big. I always forget how big he is. He's 6'3", weighing in at 208 pounds. The Flames do need more depth on the blue line. Not a secret. They're going to be rotating players in and out, I'm sure. I don't think that this is going to be a stagnant 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th defenseman sort of deal. But it's good to see that those deals got done. It was like everyone knew it was going to happen, and then what kind of solidified that was when they were on the training camp roster for tomorrow's training camp, right? So it was just a matter of like, okay, between now and when are these contracts going to be announced? And they were. It's great to see. I mean, both of these guys deserve a shot. I think Cole Schwindt is definitely going to be another depth player. And if he's playing with the Wranglers, he's going to be playing higher up in the lineup. Development is development. Obviously, he came over in the Matthew Tkachuk trade, and just good for him. I mean, honestly, this is pretty great. Pretty darn great. In Solo, he just became a new dad, which is so exciting. So congratulations to him. Great to have some stability there with a 2-year deal. And with Schwindt's 1-year deal, I do think that this is, another prove it sort of situation. So There is room to grow, and there is room to prove points and to kind of prove yourself and solidify yourself as a Calgary Flame. And I think that's pretty great. Yeah, training camp is tomorrow. It's very difficult to believe that like the Flames are just supposed to play hockey after the last week of August. I'm sure most of you did see that the Blue Jackets are going to keep Johnny's locker stall up, and have his jersey hanging in the room every game, home and away. Sean Monahan is assigned the locker right next to him. It's tough. I think a lot of times, like, I don't wanna say you forget about it, but you, like, kinda compartmentalize it, like, well, like, no, like, he's still here, and then you see someone, like, tweet about the coverage, and it's like, right. Um, but as always, my DMs are open for anyone that might need to talk about it. I mean, the Flames are doing a beautiful job with the memorial and donating everything, like, either donating or, like, repurposing, the teddy bears and stuffed animals and jerseys into quilts to donate to the community. They're turning the hockey sticks into benches, in memorial for Matthew and Johnny. They're counting the Skittles and making a monetary donation to charities within the community to give back. Um, and that's very thoughtful, very, very kind. And it is so tough, but it is so beautiful to see something come out, something positive come out of this. And Columbus is going to be honoring both brothers as well this season. So um, that will do it for me here on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you have had a fantastic week so far. We are getting closer and closer to the regular season, which means we're getting closer and closer to Locked On Flames being in Calgary, and I couldn't be more excited. So, yeah, if you have any restaurant recommendations, any like sites I have to see, please let me know because I am going to the Battle of Alberta as well. So, make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day, and I will see you tomorrow.